Was it your songwriting, do you think, that really that also stood you out because it was very competitive there for people to pick your tracks.
Yeah, I attribute a lot of stuff to the songwriters that I was writing with and collaborating with at the time. A young lady named Tamara Savage, who was an early collaborator of mine. A young lady that I collaborated really early in my career named Alicia Cook, which later became Alicia Keys. We
Are
wrote
you
some.
serious?
We wrote together back then, and then there was a guy named Harold Lilly. Now, me and Harold wrote a lot of songs together. Just a Friend by Mario, Braid My Hair by Mario. Um, we wrote He Is for Brandy together, and so on and so forth. A lot of big records. And Harold went on to write like Alicia's "You Don't Know My Name" and Beyonce's "Ego" and so many. Baby Mama by Fantasia. Just a lot of records. Black Brother by Angie Stone. On that same album, he wrote Easier Said Than Done on Andy Stone's album with me. So, those writers that I was writing, Eric Dawkins, who I wrote a lot of stuff with, my sister, my younger sister, Joy Star, a lot of records with her, Brandy, a lot of different people. Um, I attribute a lot of that success. I am a songwriter. I write lyrics,
Yeah.
but when I'm producing a project, it's hard for me to stop and say, let me write lyrics. I'm trying to produce this sound, so I'm making tracks and stuff like that. So I create the conveyor belt and I say, okay, here's an idea, this is the melody idea, or here's a track. You go in this room, write that, you go write that, and then I'll poke my head in and say what you got. I like that, but change this line, change that line, this bit. Okay, what do you got? Change this. Okay, I like that. What you got? That's kind of how we do it. And at the end of the day, while I'm working with the artist, while they're on the mic, I'm coaching their vocal, right? I
Okay.
may say, you know what? I'll give them because I rap as well, so a lot of my stuff is freestyle. I don't write on paper. I just kind of come up with it. So as they're on the mic singing, I'm like, you know what? Say this line instead. And it's like, oh, that's better. And so, and if I'm not doing that, if I'm not doing the vocal producing, my partner Eric Dawkins, he's like the best vocal producer on the planet. So, either I'm doing it or he's doing it, but mostly I'll have him doing it. When I'm doing it, I'm also writing at the same time, like change that line, change this line. So sometimes when writers, they write to my track and send it back to me, when they hear it back on the album, they'll realize there's some lines different because I changed that while
Yeah.
but it's the songwriters that I write with. Another one that I'd love to write with is Juan Winans. Juan Winans is one I read a lot with him, and another guy out of Cleveland, Ohio, named Jay Sean Champion. These guys are just like these. They're my go-to guys. And
Wow.
they're just really, really prolific guys.
It's almost like what we have about Jimmy and Terry, or even LA and Babyface, where one of them is a strong writer, one of them dances the melody, and it's easy for them to work as a team. Even you listen
Yes,
with Teddy, he had Tammy Lucas and he had Bernard Bell,
right.
who did a lot of the writing, and then Teddy came up with a lot of production, and it seems that and I think people don't seem to realize the importance of good songwriters because we think of the producer and the producer takes a name, but you're really describing how much the songwriter makes a massive difference
The
in
huge
the work you
difference.
do.
Listen, I look at guys like Jermaine Dupri, who is probably he's one of my, one of the biggest heroes of mine.
Wow.
Like he's a hero to me. He's the first person to ever give me a check to say go produce this record. But Jermaine Dupri, although he makes beats, his strong suit ain't necessarily that beat that he made. When you listening to that Escape song or that Usher song, those lines like "You make me want to leave the one I with," started like he wrote that. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like he wrote those lyrics. And those amazing, like Jermaine wrote that. So regardless of what his beat sounds like, that song is so strong, it almost doesn't matter what the beat sounds like. Because I've made really, really elaborate, amazing beats. So when I play the beat by itself to a bunch of guys, the room goes crazy. I can't believe that. But the song that I put on top of it wasn't good. So it didn't matter how good the beat was because that song was terrible.
Okay.
Or I had a beat that was just kind of okay, but the song was amazing. Number one record. It's always the song.
Wow. When did you find that? When did you learn that?
Oh, I knew that from the beginning. I knew that at the beginning because I studied Motown heavy. I studied Smokey Robinson heavy. Smokey Robinson is one of the best songwriters I've ever experienced in my life. And he is the catalyst for Motown being who they are.
Mm.
Berry Gordy built Motown on the back of Smokey Robinson's songwriting. He just did. And not to mention that they had this great sound, the
Yeah.
Motown sound,
Mm.
but the sound without the lyrics, the sound without, Tears of a Clown, you know what I'm saying? And Baby Let's Cruise or My Girl. I mean, come on, what do you have?
Yeah.
You just got a sound, but
Yeah.
nothing to sing along to.
Were you were you there when Elle came into the quick camp? Had you left by that?
Yes,
What
I
was it
was.
like when
I
he was?
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, like it's ongoing. It's been some time, but if Quick is doing something, he feels like he wants me to come play on something,
Yeah.
he can call me tomorrow and I will be there.
Yeah.
Right, I'll be right there. Like easy call.
But
So,
when
but yeah,
yeah, well, yeah. I was just wondering, were
with
you around
L,
when Elle when he brought yeah.
yeah, I was definitely around. In and out doing. I was doing my thing as a producer.
Yeah.
But he would say, "Hey man, come play on this sometimes." And I come through. And I do a little something, and L be there hanging around. Now, my connection with L came a lot earlier than
Oh.
Quick. I met L at my church. L is the nephew of one of the greatest preachers in America. His
Wow.
name was Bishop William Abney, and from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh.
Uh, it's the same church that Marvin Sapp grew up in.
Wow.
And so that was the DeBarge's uncle.
Yeah, he mentioned they went to live with that because it was too rough in Detroit. Their mom took them to stay in
Yeah.
the Grand Rapids. Okay.
So when El DeBarge was big and DeBarge was like, the stars that they were, his uncle, everybody called him Uncle Bill. He would come to LA and preach at my church and at several churches in LA. And El DeBarge would always show up and play and sing songs with them and play with them.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, he came to our church and he sang and played and stuff like that. And then one day, we were in the middle of having church. By this time, I'm 9, so I'm playing the piano. And I'll never forget, Elder Barge came into the church and just came on the altar and kneeled on the altar. And my father was the one who was there. He was the preacher there. The pastor wasn't there. My father went down there and hugged him. I would never forget this scene. He's praying with him, and they, for a couple hours. I mean, a couple of minutes, whatever. Maybe 10 minutes go by, and then L leaves. Fast forward years later, I'm producing and whatever, and we're all at the studio. Quick is there. L comes through, and uh, and my dad is there.
Oh.
My dad is there, and L sees my dad. Now, my dad doesn't remember that encounter with L Bars like that because he didn't know who he was then. You know what I'm saying? My dad was a minister, but he didn't really listen to secular music. So he kind of knew who they were, but he didn't really know them like that. And back, mind you, at that time, my dad was in his 20s then. So now he's fast forward. At this point, he's in his late 40s. And so L sees him and goes, "I know you. I know." My dad knows who he is now. He's Elder Barge, but he doesn't remember the guy that came to church and he prayed for. He didn't remember that. So he's like, "Yeah, I came to church and the little church and you prayed." But he was like, "That was you." He was like, I said, and I was there. So I said, "Dad, I remember that was you." He was like, "Really?" I said, "I remember. You came. It was called King's Chapel." He's like, "Yeah, I came." I said, "Yeah." We talked.
Wow.
So that's where I knew L from.
My goodness, so you can still remember it from yeah, and I do like the fact that he doesn't hide his worship in his songwriting
Yeah.
and his performance. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that kind.
And somewhere in between
us for even loving us, on which I didn't miss you with.
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple pieces.
Trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No. Okay.
They don't understand what Jonas boys are winning all spirits.
Play it.
I mean, I love all different genres.